Look at a blue whale for a second. It is so huge that the body almost stops feeling biological and starts feeling architectural. Now fill that body with cells. If cancer begins when cells break the rules, a whale should look like a statistical disaster. More cells, more years, more chances for something dangerous to start. And yet the biggest animals do not seem buried under the cancer burden that simple logic predicts. So the question is not whether whales are magical, it is what had to change inside a giant body to make that size survivable. Cancer is easiest to understand when you shrink it down to one cell line going rogue. A healthy body is full of cells dividing, repairing, stopping, and dying on schedule. The schedule matters. Cells are supposed to answer signals from their neighbors and from the tissue around them. They are supposed to stop when the job is done. Cancer starts when a lineage picks up the right damage, ignores enough of those limits, and keeps going. That is why body size feels important straight away. Every extra cell is another place where harmful mutations might land. Every extra round of division is another chance for damage to be copied forward. You do not need a full oncology textbook to feel the problem. A larger body is simply running more living pieces at once. Now scale that picture up to a whale. Do not worry about heroic exact numbers here. The broad point is enough. A whale is not just bigger than a human in the way a bus is bigger than a bicycle. It is a body built from vastly more cells, spread across a much larger mass of tissue, maintaining itself for decades. That means more cell lineages to police and more opportunities for accidents to happen somewhere in the system. Time adds another layer of pressure. A short-lived body only has so many years in which dangerous combinations of mutations can build up. A long-lived body keeps the game going for far longer. More repair, more copying, more chances for bad luck to stack. So common sense gives you a very blunt prediction. If cancer risk is partly a numbers game, large long-lived animals should struggle first. Their bodies should create more opportunities for failure than ours do. That intuition is not silly. It is the reason this story matters. A whale should look statistically vulnerable, and one boundary needs to be clear before we go any further. Whales can get cancer. The surprise is not immunity. The surprise is that giant size does not seem to doom them in the simple way this cell count logic suggests. Once you have the size problem in your head, the next expectation feels obvious. Across species, bigger and longer-lived animals should show a much heavier cancer burden, but that clean pattern does not appear. This is the mismatch biologists call Peto's paradox. The name is useful, but only as a label for the problem. It is not the answer. The answer has to explain why the naive math breaks once evolution gets involved. And that break is the important part. If cancer were only a matter of stacking more cells and more years, whale-sized bodies should lose badly. Instead, large animals seem to have found ways to reduce the risk before it turns into runaway disease. The paradox is not mystical. It is a sign that the rules inside those bodies changed. Mathematical modeling helps here because it keeps the story grounded. Evolution may not need one dramatic superpower to make a giant body safer. A modest improvement in repair fidelity can matter. A stricter checkpoint can matter. A slightly better system for shutting down dangerous cells can matter. Stack enough of those small gains together, and lifetime risk can shift a long way. That layered picture is much more believable than a miracle switch. It also fits the evidence better. Whale data are real, but they are uneven. Blue whales are perfect for making the scale problem visible. They are not the species with the best direct cell biology evidence. For that, the strongest case in this pack is the bowhead whale, so keep the distinction clean. Blue whale is the visual anchor. Bowhead is the lab window. And keep the second boundary clean too. Rarely observed does not mean impossible. Whale cancer records are thinner than many people assume. We will get to why. But even before we hit those limits, the cross-species pattern is strong enough to say the simple version of the numbers game is missing something. So what did evolution add to a giant body so that more cells did not automatically mean more cancer? This is where the story zooms from ocean scale down to the cell bench. Blue whales make the paradox feel enormous. Bowheads give us the best direct clue about mechanism. That shift is not a bait and switch. It is just where the evidence is strongest right now. In a 2025 Nature study, bowhead whale cells showed something unusually valuable: enhanced repair of DNA double-strand breaks. And not just more repair, but more faithful repair. That detail matters. DNA damage happens in every complex body. What matters next is simple. Does the break get fixed accurately? Does a mistake survive? Does the mutation get carried forward into future divisions? Bowhead cells looked especially good at the repair part of that sequence. That gives the paradox a better shape. The winning move may happen upstream, before a dangerous cell lineage ever gets far enough to become a tumor. If repair is more accurate, fewer harmful mutations persist. If fewer harmful mutations persist, fewer lineages ever reach the point where the tissue is in real trouble. That is a more interesting answer than a cartoon kill switch. It is also more careful. The same paper did not support the easy story that bowheads simply solved cancer by needing some absurd number of oncogenic hits to transform. The stronger clue was repair quality and lower mutation accumulation. In other words, the cells were not only better at responding after the alarm, they were better at preventing lasting damage from building up in the first place. Picture a broken ladder of DNA. One body patches the rung badly and keeps climbing. Another patches it cleanly, checks the rest of the ladder, and stops the defect from propagating. Over years and decades, that difference can change the odds dramatically. Earlier bowhead genome work had already hinted in the same direction. Researchers had flagged changes in genes linked to DNA repair, cell cycle control, cancer, and aging. Those genome studies did not prove the full whole body mechanism. What they did do was point to a body that looked evolutionarily unusual in exactly the systems you would care about here. The newer cell evidence makes that picture much sharper. We have moved from "this genome contains interesting clues" to "these cells appear unusually good at repairing dangerous damage." Still, one boundary stays in place. This is direct evidence from bowhead cells. It is not permission to claim that every giant whale species has already been mapped in the same detail. The best reading is narrower and stronger. At least one giant, long-lived whale shows repair behavior that fits the paradox very well. And once that lands, the next question changes. If bowheads repair damage unusually well, is repair the whole answer, or just one layer in a broader defense system? The broader evidence points away from one whale trick and toward a stack of overlapping protections. Comparative genomic studies across cetaceans keep circling the same territory. Researchers see signals around tumor suppressor genes. They see pathways tied to DNA damage response. They see hints around apoptosis, which is the controlled self-destruction of cells that are too damaged to trust. They also see changes linked to cell cycle control and related growth regulation. Notice the language there: signals, hints, pathways. That is deliberate. Comparative genomics points to the places where evolution applied pressure. It does not give you a perfect whole animal movie for every whale species, but it does support the big pattern. Whales and other cetaceans do not look as if they solved the size problem with one famous gene copied over and over. They look more like bodies that kept upgrading several layers of control. That makes sense if you think like evolution rather than like a headline writer. One layer can catch DNA damage early, another can halt division and force a check, another can tell a badly damaged cell to self-destruct, another may make it harder for a risky lineage to keep growing or recruiting support from the surrounding tissue. None of those improvements needs to be absolute. Together they can still move lifetime risk a very long way. There is also a concrete cell example outside the bowhead repair paper. In one exposure model, whale lung cells resisted a route to chromosome instability that drives carcinogenesis in human lung cells. That does not mean whales are broadly invulnerable to every carcinogen. It does mean protective differences can show up in specific mechanistic tests, which is exactly what you would expect if the defense story is layered rather than mythical. So the clean image here is not one giant shield. It is better alarms, stricter inspectors, and faster cleanup crews operating at several stages. That is why Peto's paradox becomes less mysterious once you stop asking for one dramatic answer. A giant body does not need magic. It needs enough modest advantages in enough important places that dangerous cell lineages have a harder time surviving the journey from damage to tumor. And evolution had a strong reason to keep selecting for that. Large, long-lived lineages that failed at cell control would pay a heavy price. The ones that happen to build better internal policing would be the ones more likely to persist. So the deepest unifying answer is simple, even if the machinery is complicated. Whales seem to be living proof that if a body gets very big and lives a long time, evolution must strengthen the rules inside it. Honest science gets better when it admits the limits. The next boundary is the one that kills the false shortcut completely. The paradox is not whales never get cancer. That sentence needs to be killed cleanly, because it is the fastest way for this topic to drift into myth. Cetaceans can develop cancer. We have documented cases. The strongest boundary example in this research pack is the St. Lawrence beluga population, where malignant cancers have been reported in a heavily contaminated estuary context. That matters for two reasons at once. First, it proves these animals are not exempt from cancer biology. Second, it reminds us that environment and population context can push risk around in the real world. Belugas in the St. Lawrence are not a portrait of every whale. They are a specific population living under specific pressures. So the case does not erase the paradox. What it does is stop us from telling a fairy tale. The broader pathology literature points the same way. Marine mammals can develop neoplasms. Both wild and captive cases exist. The record is just sparse and biased, and that bias is structural. Whales die offshore. Carcasses sink. Some are scavenged before anyone reaches them. Even stranded animals are not a random sample of the healthy and diseased population. Necropsies are uneven. Tissue access is uneven. Species coverage is uneven. For many whales, we do not have anything close to a lifetime cancer census. So when you hear that cancer is rarely observed in whales, treat that phrase carefully. It may point toward a real pattern. It does not prove true absence. That uncertainty does not dissolve the paradox, it sharpens it. We know enough to say the giant body problem is real. We know enough to say large animals are not suffering the absurd cancer explosion simple intuition predicts. We also know enough to say the surveillance is incomplete and the story includes real counterexamples. That combination is what honest comparative biology looks like. Not certainty where certainty does not exist. Not skepticism so broad that nothing can be said. Just a disciplined middle ground. Whales are not cancer-proof. They are interesting because giant, long-lived bodies appear to have become possible without being overwhelmed by cancer in the way crude cell count logic suggests. And once you keep that balance, one final question remains. If this is real science, what can humans actually learn from it without turning the whole thing into false hope? Scientists care about this paradox because evolution has already run the longest experiment available. No laboratory designed a blue whale. No researcher sat down and engineered a bowhead. Large, long-lived animals emerged under the pressure of survival, reproduction, and time. If those lineages kept paying a heavy cancer cost, they would not persist very well. So when a giant animal does persist, it is reasonable to ask what internal safeguards made that possible. That is the promise of comparative oncology. Not instant medicine, not a miracle transfer, a strategy space. Whale biology can show researchers which systems are worth studying more closely. Better DNA repair is one candidate. Stricter checkpoints are another. Layered tumor suppression is another. Those are conceptual leads. They tell us where evolution may have found workable solutions to the scale problem. But a lead is not a therapy. What works inside an evolved whale body cannot simply be poured into a syringe, copied into a human, and called a cure. The tissues are different. The evolutionary history is different. The whole body context is different. That is exactly why the approved brief kept such a hard anti-cure boundary around this topic. So the scientifically honest takeaway is narrower and better. Studying whales can reveal the kinds of cellular rules that help a giant body stay stable. It can show that cancer resistance is not one all-or-nothing wall. It can be built from many partial protections working together over a lifetime. That is useful because it changes how we picture the problem. Cancer in this story is not only about one bad mutation showing up. It is about whether a body has enough layers of control to catch, repair, stop, or eliminate trouble before it spreads. And that brings us back to the whale itself. At the start, the animal looked like a contradiction. Too big, too long-lived, too many cells. By the end, the contradiction looks more like a clue. Giant size was never free. It seems to have required better internal governance. That is the deeper biological lesson, if we keep the wording disciplined. Evolution did not decide to beat cancer in some perfect final sense. It kept selecting bodies whose safeguards were good enough to make giant-scale survivable, which means the biggest thing whales teach us may be the simplest thing. A large body is not impressive because the math of failure disappeared. It is impressive because the rules inside that body had to get better. Go back to the blue whale from the opening. At first it looked like a body that should lose the numbers game. Too many cells, too many years, too many chances for one lineage to break loose. Now it looks different, still vulnerable, still not perfectly understood, still capable of getting cancer, but also built with stronger safeguards than that first intuition allowed for. That is the real payoff of the paradox. Whales do not show that cancer can be wished away. They show that giant, long-lived bodies only become possible when evolution upgrades the policing inside them. Better repair, better checkpoints, better ways to stop damage from turning into a growing disaster. So the whale is not evidence that the risk vanished. It is evidence that living that large required better rules,